The galaxy had seen many wars, but never anything like this one. For decades, every alien nation watched humanity rise, grow, and evolve faster than any recorded species. Some feared humans, others respected them, but one species never accepted humans as equals. This species was the Zereth Dominion, a proud warrior race that believed strength came only from blood and brutality. They saw humans as soft creatures, guided by emotion and mercy, and therefore unworthy of galactic power. The story begins inside the Galactic Broadcast Tower, where the Zereth Chancellor prepared a message. His sharp eyes glowed with arrogance, his voice filled with cold confidence. "Humans pretend to be strong," he said to the galaxy, "but they fear real war. We will break them," he declared, "and show the galaxy who the true rulers are." The broadcast spread across thousands of systems, echoing through starships, colonies, and citadels. Aliens everywhere trembled, because they knew one thing: when the Zereth boasted, someone would bleed. But this time, something was different. Humanity did not respond. Not a single message from Earth, not even a warning. It was as if the humans did not hear the Chancellor at all. This silence frightened even the strongest empires, because everyone knew that when humans stayed silent, they were planning something. Something dangerous, something massive, something final. On Earth, deep under the Atlantic command base, Admiral Riven stood in the dark war chamber. The room was silent except for the hum of powerful machines mapping enemy forces. Riven's face was calm, almost too calm, as the Chancellor's speech replayed on the main holoscreen. The words echoed sharply. "Humans only win against weak species. They bow to fear. They kneel before true strength." The generals around Riven looked uneasy. One of them whispered, "Sir, should we respond?" Riven shook his head slowly. "No," he said, "not yet." His voice was deep and cold, carrying the weight of 1,000 battles. Riven was not an ordinary admiral. He had fought in 5 major galactic wars, led fleets into impossible battles, and survived situations no other species could. He knew something most aliens refused to believe. Humans did not fight for power. Humans fought for survival. And when survival was challenged, humans became the deadliest force in the universe. The Galactic Human Council gathered inside the chamber. Leaders from Mars, Earth, Titan, and Europa all appeared as holographic projections around Riven. Counselor Hale spoke first. "These Zereth broadcasts are dangerous. They are provoking the galaxy against us." Riven looked at him with calm eyes. "Let them provoke," he replied. "They believe we are silent because we fear them." A faint smile touched his lips, but it was not a smile of amusement. It was a smile of warning. Riven tapped the console and projected a massive hologram of the Milky Way. Red markers appeared across several sectors. Human colonies destroyed, outposts burned, ships missing. "The Zereth already made their move," Riven said. "They attacked 3 human moons last night." Gasps spread across the room. "How many casualties?" a counselor asked with a shaking voice. Riven answered without blinking. 72,000. Silence fell again, but this silence was heavy. It was not fear, but anger. Deep, burning anger that came only when humans lost innocent lives. Counselor Giara, the youngest of them, clenched her fists. "They want war," she said. Riven nodded. "They want extinction," he replied calmly. "They think we can break us. They think we are the same as 2 centuries ago." Riven slowly walked toward the holographic map. He zoomed into a hidden sector marked only as Phantom Zone, a place no alien had ever seen, a place even most humans did not know existed. "This is where we prepared," Riven said, "for a day like this." The council members watched as blue lights appeared inside the Phantom Zone. More than 2,000 lights, arranged in perfect formation. The council realized they were looking at something terrifying, something humanity had kept hidden for over 50 years. Riven spoke softly, but his voice carried power.
"These ships were built in silence," he said. "They were tested in silence. And now they will move in silence." The youngest counselor whispered, "What do you call this fleet?" Riven answered, "Ghost Fleet." The room filled with tension. Everyone knew what the name meant. These ships were invisible to sensors, able to appear without warning, able to destroy without being detected. "Admiral," the council asked, "are you ready for war?" Riven looked at the screen one more time. He saw the Chancellor's mocking face, challenging humanity, calling them weak, calling them afraid, calling them children. Riven turned slowly. His voice became colder than the void itself. "They want to challenge humanity," he said. "Then they will learn what happens to those who do." He stepped forward and gave the final order. "Prepare the Ghost Fleet. Launch code will be ready in 6 hours." The chamber lights dimmed, the alarms activated, and the galaxy shifted toward a new fate, a fate the Zereth Dominion was not ready to face, because they had awakened something ancient inside humanity, something unstoppable, something deadly, something that never forgave. The last warning before war had been spoken, and humanity was ready to answer not with words, but with fire, darkness, and silence.
The Zereth Dominion believed victory was already in their claws. Their homeworld lit up with celebration, drums and war chants echoing across their cities. To them, humans were prey, not rivals. "Humans hide," one Zereth general shouted on a public broadcast. "Humans run," another added. "Humans beg," the Chancellor concluded with pride. Across the galaxy, alien nations watched with fear. No one had ever mocked humans so openly. No species had ever dared to attack human colonies so boldly. But the Zereth believed they were untouchable. Their armies were massive, their weapons legendary, their warriors feared everywhere. They trusted their size, their claws, their brutal instincts. They thought humans lacked everything. They did not understand that humans possessed something far stronger: strategy, patience, and terrifying unity. On the Zereth capital world, a massive war council gathered inside their stone citadel. The Chancellor stood tall, his armor polished, his eyes full of cruel excitement. "Our scouts report humans remain silent. They are terrified," he claimed, "terrified of our power." The Zereth generals roared with laughter. They slammed their fists against the stone tables, creating shockwaves across the hall. They believed humanity was finished. For them, this was entertainment, a chance to show the galaxy they were the apex predators. But their scouts did not know the truth. Their scouts only saw empty outposts, abandoned colonies, silent stations. What they didn't see was the movement happening underground, inside nebula shadows, and behind gravity wells. Humanity was not hiding. Humanity was positioning. While the Zereth celebrated victory, humanity quietly moved entire fleets through hidden slipspace corridors. Colonies were evacuated not out of fear, but to remove civilians from the warpath. Energy readings from human war factories increased by 900%. Earth, Mars, Titan, Europa, and Ganymede went into silent war mode. But the Zereth misinterpreted every sign. Their intelligence officers claimed human silence proved weakness. Their generals claimed human evacuation proved surrender. Their chancellor declared that humanity was running away. The galaxy could only watch as the Zereth made the biggest mistake in their history: underestimating humans. Meanwhile, Admiral Riven stood inside the Ghost Fleet Command Hall. The massive room glowed with dim blue lights, reflecting off hundreds of holographic screens showing human movements. Riven walked between the consoles, checking every detail, every fleet, every formation. He said nothing, but his silence spoke loudly. Humanity was preparing something the galaxy had never seen, and no one, not even the Council, knew the full scope. On the Zereth border, their patrol fleets cruised with confidence. Their ships were brutal war machines, covered with thick armored scales and glowing red cannons.
One Zareth commander laughed while looking at the sensor screen. "No human activity detected," he said. "They hide like frightened children." But deep in the darkness behind them, cloaked human scout ships followed silently, invisible, undetectable, ghost-like. The Zareth ships continued forward, unaware that death sailed behind them. Back in the Zareth Citadel, the Chancellor made another broadcast, this time with even more arrogance. He stood surrounded by his elite warriors, all holding blood-coated weapons from human colonies they destroyed. "We have broken their moons. We have burned their outposts. And now humanity kneels before us." The galaxy held its breath. Was this really the end of humans? Or were the Zareth too blind to see what was coming? On Earth, meanwhile, the Human Council watched the Zareth broadcast. Many felt anger, many felt grief, but none felt fear. Riven stood in front of them with calm eyes. He said, "As expected, they believe victory belongs to them." He turned toward the holographic star map, "And that belief will destroy them." Suddenly, an alert flashed across the chamber. A human reconnaissance drone captured footage from a destroyed outpost. The screen showed ruins, burning metal, and Zareth soldiers planting their flag on human soil. The council felt their blood boil. Riven placed his hand on the console and played the recording again. He let the room grow silent as the Zareth soldiers cheered. Then he whispered, "Enough." Across human space, the Ghost Fleet started to awaken. Engines powered up with silent blue pulses. Hull plates shifted into stealth formation. Weapons calibrated with surgical precision. One by one, 2,000 warships prepared to move. The crews waited for Riven's signal. They knew what this mission meant. Not revenge, not pride, but survival. Back on the Zareth capital, the Chancellor prepared a grand speech for the galaxy. "We will end humanity in one strike. We will erase their name from the stars." The crowd roared, shaking the citadel walls. But in their arrogance, they never realized a simple truth. Humanity was not preparing to defend. Humanity was preparing to erase the erasers. As night fell on the Zareth capital world, their skies remained calm. No alarms, no warnings, no enemy ships. But far beyond the edge of their sensors, the Ghost Fleet hovered in silence. Thousands of ships hidden in the shadows, waiting, watching, preparing. The Zareth laughed at humanity, but they were laughing at a storm that was already above them, a storm that would erase their laughter forever. The galaxy did not know it yet, but the countdown to the Zareth extinction had already begun.
The Zareth Dominion believed they ruled the stars. But tonight, something moved in the darkness beyond their borders. Something they could not detect, could not predict, and could not understand. The Ghost Fleet, humanity's most secret creation, drifted like shadows through cold space. No light touched them. No scanner could find them. No system could track them. They were the silent answer to the Zareth's arrogance. Inside the lead ship, the Horizon Phantom, Admiral Riven stood at the command deck. The room was dim, filled with transparent holographic maps floating like ghosts. Each ship was represented by a blue dot, unmoving, patient, deadly. Riven watched them with calm eyes. He felt no excitement, no fear, only certainty. The Zareth had chosen their fate the moment they spilled human blood. A young officer approached nervously. "Admiral," he whispered, "Ghost Fleet is fully cloaked. All vessels report silent readiness." Riven nodded slowly. "Good," he said. "Let them rest. Tonight they will carry the weight of humanity." Outside, the Ghost Fleet glided through space like a black storm. Their hulls were coated with shadow tech, absorbing every photon that touched them. They left no heat, no radiation, no sound. They were nothingness drifting through the void, the perfect predators returning to claim justice. Meanwhile, on the Zareth border outpost, Commander Kor watched his scanners with a smirk. "Still no human activity," he said proudly. A junior soldier laughed. "The humans must be hiding in caves." Kor grinned widely.
or digging their own graves, he replied. His arrogance blinded him completely. He never realized a human ship sat only 6 kilometers behind his station, watching him, studying him, planning his end. Inside the silent human scout ship, Captain Alder whispered into his mic, "Target outpost marked," awaiting main fleet signal. His crew sat still, breath held, knowing that one mistake would reveal them. But humans did not make mistakes tonight. Tonight was precision. Tonight was vengeance. Back on the Zareth capital world, the Chancellor prepared a massive attack. Armies marched through the streets, banners waving, cannons thundered, generals roared. The Zareth believed they were unstoppable. They believed humans were hiding. They believed they were already victorious. But reality was far different. Behind their borders, where no light existed, the Ghost Fleet floated in perfect formation. 2,000 ships, aligned like silent blades. Their engines pulsed with quiet blue shadows. Their weapons glowed faintly with stored energy. They were not preparing to attack the Zareth. They were preparing to end them. Inside the fleet's central chamber, the AI system Oracle 9 began speaking. Trajectory calculated. Zareth defenses mapped. Enemy fleet weaknesses identified. Riven listened carefully. He trusted the human mind, but he trusted Oracle 9 just as much. The AI had been built specifically to defeat species like the Zareth. Loud, confident, careless. A general approached Riven with concern. "Sir, we are outnumbered 3-1. Riven nodded calmly. "We always are," he replied. The general tried again. "Sir, their weapons are powerful." Riven looked him straight in the eye. "So are ours," he answered. "But ours don't need noise. Ours don't need heat. Ours only needs silence." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Humanity held its breath. 7, 6, 5. The Zareth partied on their world, celebrating their victory, unaware of the shadows above them. 4, 3, 2. Riven whispered, "For the fallen." 1, 0. The void trembled as the Ghost Fleet uncloaked for a single second, just long enough to fire, just long enough to change history. A beam of pure compressed dark energy erupted from the lead human ship, the Void Hammer, the most terrifying human weapon ever built. It tore through space with silent fury. No explosion, no flames, just sudden emptiness. The Zareth border outpost vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was nothing but drifting dust. Commander Kor did not even have time to speak. His laughter ended mid-breath. His ship, his soldiers, his world, all erased without a trace. Alarms erupted across the entire Zareth dominion. What is happening? Where are they? Who attacked? But their sensors found nothing. No enemy ships, no signatures, no explanation. Riven watched the battlefield unfold from the holographic map. The Zareth scrambled, panicked, confused. Humanity remained silent. Riven turned to his officers. "Phase 1 complete," he said. "Activate Silent Storm." Across the Ghost Fleet, thousands of weapons charged at once. Invisible missiles, shadow torpedoes, dark lance beams. Each engineered for one purpose, to make sure no Zareth ship survived. The Zareth Dominion finally understood something terrible. This was not a war, this was a hunt, and humans were the hunters. Cold, precise, unstoppable. The Ghost Fleet moved like a living nightmare, clawing through Zareth defenses without ever being seen. The galaxy watched in horror. Humanity had awakened, and the last species that mocked them was beginning to disappear. The Zareth Dominion had never known fear, but tonight, fear tore through their empire like wildfire. Sirens screamed across every moon, every fortress, every war station. Citizens rushed into shelters, warriors grabbed weapons, generals roared orders. Yet no one knew what they were fighting. No one could see the enemy, because humanity fought like shadows from another world. Inside the Zareth High Citadel, the Chancellor slammed his claws on the war table. His voice cracked with anger.
"Find them!" he shouted. "Find the humans!" But the room fell silent, because the answer was impossible. "Our sensors detect nothing," a trembling officer said. "They strike and disappear. They leave no readings, no traces." The Chancellor growled in disbelief. "How can a species we called weak do this?" But deep inside his heart, he felt something he had never felt before, a cold, crawling fear, a realization that the humans he mocked were not the same humans of old. On the human side, Admiral Riven stood tall inside the Horizon Phantom. His expression did not change as multiple Zereth ships vanished from the holographic map. "Phase 2 complete," he instructed. "Move to Phase 3. His voice carried no joy, no hatred, only duty. Humanity was not here for glory. Humanity was here to end the threat that had gone too far. The Ghost Fleet split into 5 groups. Each group moved through space like a silent storm. They attacked from above, below, and through folded space tunnels the Zereth did not understand. Without warning, human Dark Lance beams pierced entire Zereth battle groups. Ships that once roared with metallic pride fell quiet. Some cracked open like glass, some vanished like smoke. Their destruction was clean, precise, and horrifyingly efficient. On the Zereth capital, warriors poured into the sky in thousands of ships. Their engines roared with burning power, but the Ghost Fleet simply shifted into stealth mode again. The Zereth fired blind shots into empty space. Their beams cut through nothing but the void. Their missiles hit only empty darkness. Frustration became panic. Panic became terror. A Zereth general shouted into the comms, "Show yourselves, cowards!" He never finished the sentence. A silent pulse from a human vessel erased his ship instantly. No explosion, no fire, just a soft flash and emptiness. At last, the Ghost Fleet reached the Zereth capital planet. A massive world covered with glowing red cities, fortified towers, and colossal war cannons. Hundreds of millions lived beneath its surface. It was the heart of the Dominion, and tonight, that heart would stop beating. Inside the Citadel, the Chancellor stared at the sky as thousands of human warships decloaked at once. The sight made his blood freeze. He had expected small fleets, small groups, small resistance, but what he saw was an armada beyond imagination. Shadow-black ships covered the sky like a storm of death. They blocked the stars, the sun, the horizon. The Chancellor whispered in disbelief, "Impossible!" The Ghost Fleet hovered without firing, silent, cold, waiting for Riven's command. On the Horizon Phantom, Riven opened a communication link. His face appeared on every Zereth screen. He did not shout, he did not rage, he did not threaten. He simply said one sentence. "You chose this." The Chancellor's voice shook. We surrender," he whispered. "We accept defeat. We will not resist." Riven looked at him with emotionless eyes. "When you attacked our moons," he said, "you chose war. When you mocked our dead, you chose war. When you tried to erase our species, you chose extinction." The Chancellor fell to his knees. "Please, spare us," he begged. But the Ghost Fleet did not come to negotiate. They came to end a threat that had gone too far. Riven raised his hand slowly, and the galaxy held its breath. He commanded, "Void Hammer." Fire! A giant ripple tore through space, not bright, not loud, but deep and silent. The entire planet trembled beneath the energy wave. The ground cracked open like fragile stone, mountains collapsed, oceans vaporized, cities vanished into glowing dust. Fortress towers melted as if made of wax, entire continents shattered like glass plates. The Zereth capital began to break apart from the inside. Humans had used a planetary fracture weapon to finish the job.
Millions of Zereth screamed in terror as the world split open beneath their feet. There was no escape. Their ships could not outrun the collapse. Their leaders could not command anything anymore. Within minutes, the entire planet exploded into glowing fragments. The heart of the Dominion died, and with it, the species itself. The last Zereth fleet tried to run, but human ships surrounded them in a perfect spiral. Riven gave the final order: end it. A silent wave passed through space, and every Zereth ship disintegrated into dust. No survivors, no remains, no trace that they ever existed. The galaxy watched in absolute silence. One species had vanished, not because they were weak, but because they challenged humanity, and humanity answered.
When the last Zereth ship turned to dust, a deep silence spread across the galaxy. It was not the silence of peace, nor the silence of victory. It was the silence of shock, the silence that comes when an entire species disappears in a single night. For thousands of years, the Zereth Dominion had been feared. They ruled with claws, intimidation, and blood. But tonight, their empire existed only as a memory, a warning to those who believed humanity was weak. Inside the Horizon Phantom, Admiral Riven stood at the observation deck. He watched the glowing fragments of the Zereth homeworld drift through space. The battlefield was quiet. No more screams, no more threats, no more cruelty. Just cold dust floating in the void. One officer approached him slowly. "Admiral," she whispered, "it is over." Riven nodded, but his face remained heavy. He said softly, "War ends, but its weight never leaves." Humans did not celebrate. There were no cheers, no victory banners, no music. Because humanity did not fight for conquest. Humanity fought because the Zereth forced them to. And now, billions were gone because of that choice. On Earth, the Human Council gathered to address the galaxy. Every species tuned in, trembling, fearful, uncertain. Some expected anger, some expected arrogance. But humanity did not speak with pride. They spoke with clarity. Counselor Hale appeared on the broadcast. He looked into the camera with calm, steady eyes. His voice carried across thousands of star systems. The Zereth chose war. They chose destruction. They chose extinction. Then he added the words that shook the galaxy. Let this be the last time any species chooses death over peace. The message spread everywhere. Across mining colonies, merchant stations, and floating cities, alien leaders sat in silence, realizing the truth. Humanity was not a conqueror. Humanity was a protector. But when pushed to the edge, humanity was unstoppable. Weeks later, the galaxy slowly began to move again. Trade lanes reopened, alliances formed, borders stabilized. Even species who once laughed at humans now treated them with quiet respect, some even with fear, because they finally understood what the Zereth never did. Humans might be emotional, humans might be compassionate, but humans were never weak. They were survivors, warriors, builders, guardians. On a distant moon, a young alien child asked his teacher, "Why did the Zereth vanish?" The teacher answered with a heavy heart, "They tried to erase humans, and humans responded." Back aboard the Horizon Phantom, Admiral Riven walked through the ship's silent corridors. He thought about the destroyed colonies, the lost lives, the burned outposts. He remembered the Zereth soldiers celebrating as they planted their flag on human soil. He remembered their mocking words. He remembered their cruelty. And he remembered humanity's answer. In the strategy room, Riven stood before a hologram of the Milky Way. One of his captains spoke softly. "Sir," she said, "do you think another species will challenge us?" Riven did not look away from the stars. Yes, he replied calmly. Someday. The captain frowned nervously. Then what will we do? She asked. Riven finally turned to her, his voice steady and unwavering. We will offer peace, he said. And if they refuse? His eyes narrowed. Then we will protect humanity the same way we did today. The crew around him felt a mix of pride and sorrow, not because they destroyed an enemy, but because they carried a burden no one else could. Later, when the Ghost Fleet slowly returned home, crowds gathered on Earth, Mars, and Titan to welcome them, not with cheers of war, but with silent salutes. Humanity honored its defenders in the only way that felt right, with respect, with gratitude, with understanding. The galaxy recovered, time passed, stars continued to burn, but one truth remained carved into the memory of every species, a truth whispered in political halls, military councils, and children's classrooms. Do not challenge humanity. Not out of fear, not because humans were invincible, but because humans defended their own with a fire deeper than the void, a fire no enemy could survive. Years later, historians named the event the Night of Echoing Silence, because after the Zareth vanished, no empire dared to roar again. And in the quiet corners of the universe, one lesson spread like starlight, a lesson no one ever forgot. The last species that defied humanity was wiped out without a trace, and there would never be a next one.